welcome to Hypothetically Intentional, where we ask the question, what if we set intentions with everything we do? I'm your host, Michelle Albers, and today I have Javier Santana with me. Welcome, Javier.
Hello.
It's good
Good
to
to be
see
here.
you. Before we get started and
Mhm.
drop right into an amazing conversation, I'm sure, I would like to set an intention for today. And I think for me, my intention with this specific podcast is to really drop in and be an active listener and engaged in your truths because for whatever reason, we're recording this podcast so that it'll launch the very end of May, which leads us into June, which is Father's Day. And I
Mm,
just feel like, I don't know, I'm a mom. So I go all in on the Mother's Day hype and talk and experience. But Father's Day is one that I feel like maybe people could use a little more info. and,
right.
and so that's where I'm at. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I heard I don't know how truthful this is, but I heard some statistic that in regards to all the holidays that, you have the big ones, Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter and stuff, but then Mother's Day is like top five, and then Father's Day is like 28th.
Yeah, see? It does kind of feel that way. And I don't, not
Mhm.
intentionally, right? There's no intention behind that or no malice or any of that. I mean, I've been divorced twice and I still, every Father's Day, thank
Mhm.
my kid's dad and my kid's stepdad and my partner currently. I just feel like they're big impacts in the kids' lives. And without them, it would be so much harder and so much different. And, I won't say better necessarily, right? Because I don't know the experience of being a single mom with or a human who doesn't have a dad. I don't have that experience, but I just think I don't know. I think
Right.
to lean into and get curious about what might support a father on Father's Day. Like
Right.
that's why I'm here today. I want to be curious about like what's your experience of being a dad and do you feel like you've been supported and or is something like missing or lacking within that? And that's not this isn't about judgment or like pointing fingers. I don't mean it in that way at all.
No, 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 I understand. Yeah, I don't know. I think just it's a cultural thing, not just a specific nationality. I think in general. But for me, to bring context to the audience, your audience, I am a father of three. I'm a girl dad, so that's even uh, my oldest is 28. She's turning 29 in July. Um, and then my middle daughter is 23, and then my youngest is 16. So raised three daughters. I've been I was divorced 3 years to 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago, separated 3 years ago. Their mom and I are co-parenting my youngest. So we share her 1 week in one place, 1 week in the other. Very different dynamic. So she's the one daughter that has didn't have mom and dad in her teen years in the living room, getting home and what's for dinner and TV's going, and it's a lot different type of dynamic than the first two. But as far as being a dad, that's one of my people that know me and have been around me long enough. They know that they're my legacy. They're part of my legacy. That I love them dearly. I pursue my girls. I want to meet them where they are and whatever their passions are. If I can help feed those passions and encourage those passions, I do. And their mom does too. But as a dad, I've always wanted to kind of be there. And looking back, I don't know what the motivation is. I mean, love is still the motivation. They're my children, so that should be enough. But I grew up without a dad. My dad didn't pass away, but my mom raised my sister and I as a single mom since I was 2 years old. So I never had a dad in the house. And then when I was 11 years old, she moved my sister and I from Puerto Rico to another country, to the United States. Yes, we're US citizens, but it is a big cultural shock to go from Puerto Rico to like Northern Virginia.
Just a little different.
I mean, and to give you more context, on Friday I went to school in Puerto Rico, and Monday I went to school in Virginia, and I didn't know a lick of English when I was 11 years old. So it
Whoa.
threw me in, and we kind of, we're resilient young kids, and this is a young Gen X kid. We're like, suck it up, Buttercup, figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So this is like early 80s. So this is like a different world. It's not like we have Instagram back then and we're FaceTime our friends and stuff. It's like pretty isolated. Um, no issues there, but I think a lot of what drove me was I didn't have a point of reference on how to be a dad. I knew what not to do. So maybe
Yeah.
that's a
Don't disappear. Is that what you mean?
yeah, like be present. Well, there's a concept for you, but just not present physically, but be there engaged. And I've always been very purposeful. You talk about setting intention. Yeah, I mean, to be there for them. I mean, I'm sitting in my desk here in my room. I have three monitors, and my daughter comes in. And I see her, and then I literally stop and I engage. You know, and then and they know understand I'm always busy, but I told them I'm never too busy for you. I will always make time for you, and they know
Yeah.
that. And so I've always been very purposeful about engaging them in building that relationship and trust. Yes, we are the parents. Yes, we ruled. We you do what I say. I also, and I'm not a helicopter parent. I don't hover. I by default I trust. I do pay attention and I verify and all that, but I'm not one of those that just kind of hovers and stuff. I believe that there's things we working through, but it was also a challenge raising them in three technically different. I don't want to say generations. They're all Gen Zs, but they're 6 years apart. So one of them was born in 1997. The other one 2003. The other one 2009. So
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot happened in those technology wise. The teen years were different for each one of them. So it felt new, even though they were because they weren't close together, like 2 years apart or a year apart. So that's been a challenge. But um, as a dad, I'm very intentional, I guess, in that sense of being there, and I've always have been. I don't know what that's rooted on. I think partly is because of my dad not being there, not being present, and then just my love for my daughters. They're my pride and joy. So
Yeah.
that drives me.
Yeah, your love for your kids is palpable, and I love that. And it's part of the reason I wanted to have this conversation
Mhm.
today. I wasn't necessarily planning on going here, but if you're open to it, I feel like I probably have some questions around like your dad not being present when you were growing up, if that's okay.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. I've actually already settled that. There's forgiveness has happened. Like I'm already,
Yeah.
I can talk about it and not, it won't trigger anything. I'm in a good place.
Yeah.
There was a long
That's
time where
good.
things were triggered and stuff, but no, I'm good. He passed away, ironically, about, I don't know, 10 years ago, something like that, on Father's Day
Oh, wow.
by himself in Puerto Rico. So I went through a period of where looking back, where I didn't get that journey, that rite of passage, I guess they say, as a young man. A lot of young boys don't get that from their dads, but my mom and him divorced when we were young. They were friends and stuff. We had visitation. We lived with my mom, but when we moved to the United States, the first year and a half, close to 2 years, he was very present as much as he could be. I mean, he lived in Puerto Rico. We lived in the United States. He came to see us. We went to Puerto Rico and saw him. He was engaged. We got the cards, we got the presents, we got the phone calls. And then at some point, right around when I turned a teenager, he just disappeared. There was no explanation. There was no more
Mm.
cards, no more engagement. And, life goes on. I play baseball all the time at the time. I'm very busy. You just don't think through it. You just kind of, dad, and mom would say something and then we just keep going. I'm just looking back. It's a lot easier. And, but then I became a dad years later and I started seeing the gap of, oh, what's he been up to? Why did this happen? Where has he been? I would talk to my sister. I have a younger sister, only like a year, a little less than 2 years younger than me, so we're close in age. And she was experiencing the same thing, obviously, as a young lady that I have. And so she was so angry that she didn't even invite him to her wedding. I was different. I actually did invite him to my wedding, and but then I started processing, okay, what's happening here? Why am I upset? Why wasn't he? And as I got older and engaged him a little more, I would go through these periods of engagement, but he wanted to kind of be dad. And I'm like, you don't get to earn dad.
Mm.
You don't get dadhood. You get father. You have to earn that. There has to be and it felt like he was combative in some cases where he just felt that he had access when he hadn't earned that because of who he was. And that I think that's part of the Hispanic culture is like, you're a family, you're blood. Blood is everything. Well, okay. Okay, yeah, right. It's like, but I've been Americanized in the sense that like I have my core values are mine, but my there's a lot of different things with me culturally as a Latino man, and then also being raised in the United States, and so there's a lot of things that were conflicting and not quite what is the norm, what do I agree with, and so but fast forward, I did want to engage and kind of find out what happened, and I had a conversation with him. Um, and he explained, and that's another story, but he explained there, um and my goal was I like to go to Puerto Rico for like a week to 10 days and spend it with him and just go through all that face to face. This might be a lesson here, and not even for dads or anybody in general. One day I will dot dot dot.
Mm.
Later is a lie. I always say, if you're going to do something, do it, because I never got the chance to have that conversation with him.
Yeah.
He passed away. So then I was like, it's not that I wasn't still angry with him. I just wanted to reestablish some type of relationship. I wasn't after I understood what had happened, but we still had to build that. And so I went through this anger period of, because there were things that molded me as in my character, in my personality, I guess in my behaviors, of just not having him, not having a male influence, in my life. And look, I'm don't no complaints from the perspective I was raised by women, and I feel that I've learned a lot, and I'm very thankful for my life. But as a father, I'm like, I want to know my dad. I want to know my father, and he wanted to engage with me. I just wanted to make sure it was I controlled the rules of engagement and
Yeah.
found some type of middle ground. So, um, to wrap that up, I have a good friend. He was a youth pastor and at a church. He's a good friend of mine. This is like back when he died, so close to 10 years ago. And I was like, I need to figure this out because I never got the conversation. And he's like, well, people do this in psychiatry, I guess, and stuff. He mentioned, maybe you can sit down and write him a letter and get all that stuff out of your system. And I said, I don't write letters. I said, so I went, I kid you not, I got in my car. I pretended he was in the driver's seat. I even
Mm.
I even put the seatbelt in, and I drove for like 3 hours. And I talked to him, and I let him know everything. I yelled, I screamed, I laughed, I cried, and then I settled it. And then I forgave him. And that was it. That was it. I never got that, but I felt he was there. There was a connection there, and he listened because he didn't talk back.
That might have been the best case scenario.
Maybe the most
Yeah.
recent area. But I figured, there's a point, without going too much on a tangent, that we got to stop blaming our parents for stuff. You know, we know
Yeah.
better. It's easy to kind of anchor ourselves with like, oh, I was brought up this way, and I don't want to be that person. But there are things that affected me. I have to address them. But what it molded me, that was when my young, when my girls were still younger. So I've already been a good dad, and that's in that sense what I feel like I am. I mean, I'm still very close to them, so I guess I did something right. I know I did a lot of things wrong because they actually want to hang out with me, and that's actually a good thing. Um, and not out of guilt, which is actually a good thing.
To make a choice that's
Right, right.
pure,
Yeah,
for lack of
right.
a better word, just from the heart, a choice that's like, I actually want to spend time. It's not because I feel guilty or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
I had a podcast with my oldest daughter. We stopped it, not because we didn't want to do it. It's just the year that we stopped, she was planning a wedding and I was in the middle of a divorce. So it's kind of other things that could for, so we never
Yeah.
got around to it. my middle daughter, she lives with me full time, and she's a professional. She has a full time job, makes her own money, and all that stuff. And look, we're gonna go see like Bruno Mars in September together. Like she invited me. It's like, you want to go? It's like, my 23-year-old wants to go with her dad to a concert.
Yeah.
Like that's cool. You know,
Yeah.
I don't care who it is. It's I want to hang out with her for a night. You know, it could be anybody. I don't care.
Yeah.
But Bruno Mars is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's really fun.
And then right now with my youngest, she loves theater. That's what she wants to do in college. She's in the high school plays, so we go regularly to New York City. We're only 3 hours from New York City to I go take her to Broadway plays. We were just there last month. We went to see Hades Town, and we're going to go back this summer. And I find local theater things that are happening to get her exposed into that world. I enjoy it, but that's her passion. So that's when you know, what I try to do, meet her there. There was a time where I was listening to Taylor Swift all the time because
I remember that.
yeah, I still do. I mean, I still got my little Swifty
Oh,
bracelet.
you're
I still
Swifties.
hold it. Because and then it's really nice and but those are the things that I think you talk about setting intention. I think instinctively that was my intention, was just to stay close to them and to just love on them and pursue them. You
You
know.
know what? Thank you for sharing that story. I just think, or your experiences, maybe. I don't even like calling it a story. Your experience in how you grew up and your relationship with your dad, or what it was and what it wasn't. I think what I heard in it and what I find maybe most beautiful about it is it felt like when you were talking about it that it did lead you to being more intentional, but it
Yes.
felt very much like, or it feels very much like those intentions weren't coming from like bitterness or anger or even, any sort of pain with regard to how it played out with your dad. It's more about, well, this was my experience and I want to show up intentionally according to like my integrity, which is different. I think sometimes when people have experiences where they have some sort of loss or what might feel like a void or not get the closure, quote unquote. I mean, I'm throwing a word out there, but like you
Mhm.
described, where you didn't get to have the conversation that you really truly needed to have and then you found a way. But I think
Right.
when people have those kind of experiences that can be really hard to step out of or to step into something outside of that pain point, it can kind of skew how we show up and it can like it's going to sound weird to say it this way, but like help us avoid or miss some of our own intentions, and we build them out of what we thought we were missing instead of what we want for now.
No,
and
that's a really good point.
and I
That's
didn't hear that in what when you were talking about it. What I heard is like, my daughters mean the world to me, and I show up intentionally within that.
right. I believe that I would have been very similar or close to what I'm the same way if I would had a good relationship with my dad. I just felt
Yeah.
the weight of understanding what the absence of one, how it created issues with me, also
Mm.
my sister.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, and God bless her. Her and I are close, and she just remarried in September after losing her husband 3 years earlier of 22 years. But it for her to trust men in general,
Mm.
it took a long time because of this relationship or lack of. So I saw
Yeah.
how it affected, and I see that all across the board, everywhere in the world. A lot of the issues, and I'm not speaking from a place of authority because I've heard, I've heard the statistics, how, but I'm sure they're close to this. Is when you see, it's not all the time, but a lot of the issues with kids, you can trace it to an absent father,
Mm.
and a lot of kids. I'm not saying all of them, but when you
Sure.
have a good balance of mom and dad, it works. And look, we're in this divorce, and I'm very thankful in many ways for a lot of things. That's not something I planned, but I'm thankful that Grace, my youngest, wasn't 2 years old during
Hmm.
this. She was at the time 14. Now she's 16. But we're co-parenting her. Like, I communicate daily with her mom, and when she's there, and I get like the transition happens on Fridays, then I get caught up with what's happened. And then we pick up where other stuff. So yes, she's a different personality than I am. So there's some differences, but overall, the the arc of the parenting is the same. There's not things that are I'm doing that she's not doing, and vice versa. So I'm very thankful for that. That even through a separation and divorce, we've been able to continue at least some type of normalcy, if there's such a thing, with her.
Yeah.
And the nice thing for, I guess, what I'm very thankful for is she has also her older sisters to help her. Like she's not an only child. So, her oldest sister, she adores. She's actually going to, tomorrow, she's been this week with me. Tomorrow she goes back to her mom, but tomorrow my oldest is picking her up and she's spending a few nights with her sister and they're going to go shopping and they're going to do things and stuff. So it's a really interesting dynamic, but she has a little tribe that kind of, and she's the youngest. And I told her, you're the most popular person in the family. Everybody wants to hang out with you. I mean, she knows it too.
Take advantage of it while it's
Right, right.
there, right?
I'll be milking it. But you're right. I didn't, it wasn't out of a reaction or like coming from woundedness. I think it was coming from my love for them. And I think I would have parented my kids very similarly. I would have loved to have them to have a grandfather available for them. I think I grieved that they didn't have
Mm,
my dad. He got to meet my oldest and when she was a baby, but he never got to know them. And
yeah.
he died alone. He died of a heart attack by himself. Like I have a half sister who lives there, and she hadn't heard from him in a few days. She went to see him in the house and found him on his bed. That's
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, there's so much in what you said there. There's just like so much in what you said there. Well, and I'm just thinking about like, because earlier you said, at some point we have to stop blaming our parents. And I mean, the finishing to that sentence for me is and take our own accountability for
Yeah,
our own
take
choices,
take
right?
ownership.
Like, take ownership of our choices and our accountability. And I think there's something profound when I'm going to say as a kid, but I don't think it happens when you're a kid. I think for most people, it's when you're adults, and sometimes it's after you have your own kids. But there's something magical about recognizing that, yeah, I mean, everyone's parents made mistakes. Everyone's parents fucked some shit up. Like that,
Mm,
that's just, we all do it. But
right,
understanding that you have a choice and that it doesn't have to like quote unquote ruin your life forever
right. Thank
is
you for
such a
bringing. You're right.
beautiful awareness, albeit painful, because then there might be the grieving to do or the mending of
Mhm.
relationships or new boundaries to set or whatever that looks like. But I think some of what gets us in trouble as parents and as children is like our expectations or even like our need or desire to tuck ourselves into the stereotypical way it's supposed to be. Like you mentioned
Right,
grandparents, and I had that like it's not that I didn't have any fun with my grandparents, but my grandparental relationships were not stereotypical. And then I would meet friends or like when I got married, it's like their grandparents were so perfect in my eyes. Like they were just perfect. And my grandparents were not that way at all. And I was just like, God, I
right,
never got that. That sucks. And it's like, well, A, you have it now. And B, does it suck? Because I have a bunch of beautiful memories with my grandparents. It's just not the stereotypical all good, all lovely, all knowing, all supportive,
right, right, right. Right.
but, me having that preconceived notion and that condition within my own being, it's like, did that make it more painful than it had to be? Or, you know what I mean?
No, I do. I do. I know you're right. There is no stereotype there. I think for me, it was just him knowing them. Like he
Yeah.
missed out, you know?
Yeah, I have that. Even just my son just getting married. It's like my mom passed 5 years ago. She wasn't there. My dad wasn't feeling well. He wasn't there. And it's like, that sucks. They missed it. But it's like, they were
And I
there
say
in
my,
spirit?
yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. I mean, my girls are close to but my mom is purposeful like I am.
Yeah.
She engages them. She doesn't
Yeah.
wait. Oh, I'm the grandmother. Let's wait for them to. Well, when do they really reach out to me? No, she actually initiates. And yes, they're adults, but at the same time, we're still human. We have to. If we don't feel respected, or if we feel ignored or overlooked, we're not going to respond to somebody. We're not going to, just because they're blood related. You know,
Yeah.
but I like that they have that relationship, and one of them is a lot closer because she reciprocates and she engages, so that's up to them now. I mean, I'm not gonna, I mean,
Yeah.
two of them are adults. They have to make those decisions. I sometimes nudge, but at the same time, if that's not there, that's not there. But I do um have control of how I respond, like we all do, to things,
Yeah.
and use what happened as a reason or as an excuse to whatever or not do or do whatever. And I was very purposeful about not using that as a reason, not having my dad and moving to another country and all this. And, I could have created a narrative to excuse a life that I wasn't happy with. And I just,
Yeah.
I refused to do that. Life's too short, you know.
Yeah. It's just, this is such a good conversation. And I think, I don't know, I just think it's such a beautiful thing to have a conversation with someone who did not have a stereotypical upbringing, who is grounded and intentional about how he shows up, but then also, I guess I would use the word healed. I'm not saying you're healed
Mm,
all over, but I
those
think
places
there's,
I am.
you
Yeah.
know, I mean, healing is a forever process, but you can heal from certain things, but there's always more healing to do. But I just feel like the way you speak about your father and the way you speak about how you grew up and even how you talk about how you moved from, you didn't speak a lick of English and then here you
Mhm.
were from a Friday to a Monday. Well,
Yeah.
hello, welcome. That could also be a story that keeps you in victimhood forever. But what it feels like is you chose something different and you put some purpose behind that and some, I don't know. I feel what I hear in a lot of what you're saying, and I find really fascinating and beautiful, is you're a really good observer. And then you make your choices. Like you have that intentional pause, like almost
Mhm.
innately within you before you decide, which means you're responsive versus reactive, which is a lovely thing. At least in this conversation, that's how very much how it's feeling. So do you
Mhm.
feel like, and maybe that's not accurate, you can answer that in this next question, but do you feel like how you show up is um makes it so that you, I don't know, I just that you need less support as a dad because you're so in your own internal integrity that you maybe don't, like, I don't know, were there times where you just felt unsupported and like you could maybe give some support or advice to someone who feels unsupportive and like how they could, because I think we don't ask for it and that's part of the problem, but sometimes it's because we
Right.
don't know.
No, no, it's a good. I mean, all of that is true. Let's see. One of the answers to you, what you bring up is, I always gravitate to with people that are like me in that sense. Not that I exclude others, but whenever I see, I identify like, oh, that's a good dad, or that's a good dad. I mean, you know, again, society, unfortunately, with sitcoms and TV shows and stuff, just frames dads as these passive, kind of like weak people, and mom has to come in and fill the hole. And there's a lot of truth in society, but that doesn't mean that's the majority. There's a lot of us who are hard workers, and I don't do it for the credit. I don't do it for the glory. I do it for my girls. But sometimes it's nice to get a pat in the back and say, "Hey, good job,
Yeah.
Dad." You know, I don't care for much except but I think the idea for me, I do, even though we're talking about dads and fathers, I do want to give credit to my mom because my mom did raise two kids in another country by herself, and she's a very strong woman and who did a lot of things to kind of fill that gap. And I think tying those two comments together, I don't know who said it, there's a saying, nature abhors a vacuum. I think that's what it goes. If there's a hole, it's going to be filled. So no dad, who's going to fill that role? Well,
Yeah.
if it's mom's going to now have two roles, and then you have all kinds of dynamics happen, that stuff. And it happens in organizations, it happens in habits. And if I stop smoking, what's going to replace? I don't smoke, by the way. I do smoke cigars, but not cigarettes. If you stop that, you got to fill it with something else, right? So we have to be careful about what we replace something with. Going back to my mom, was very strict. Looking back, she was, single Hispanic mom, like rule the roost. Like I said one time in one of my talks, I think you were in one of those events. Like I said, I didn't go off the rails in my teens for two reasons: baseball and the wrath of my mother. It wasn't the fear of the Lord; it was the fear of my mother. Like if like disappointing her, holy crap! Are you kidding? That's the worst. That's hell on earth.
Yeah,
People,
yeah.
you're going to hell. No, you can have hell on earth. How
Yeah,
on earth is my mom mad at me?
yeah.
So that kept me really straight. Okay. And I guess that doesn't mean I was a saint. I just didn't get caught. Hopefully my
Oh,
mom's not watching
careful.
this. But I was careful. But at the same time, when it comes to me being a dad, I mean, I'm done a lot of things wrong, and obviously, I make, but I am very purposeful on a daily basis to kind of do what I can to be there for them. So I'm shifting. You know, you have adult children, so you understand that shift from parent. You're always a parent, but from nurturing, mothering, and taking care of and protecting to now being more of a friend and ally. You're still a mom, but you know those transitions have always been a little difficult for me. But now I'm like in the third one, so it's become a little easier. But our role changes, even though we're still parent. I say this jokingly, even though it's not true, but it's like I'm done parenting my oldest, you know, but she has a husband, you know, but dad's here, you know, but if she ever needs me, you know, I'll stop what I'm doing. What do you need? And she knows
Yeah,
that. She knows that.
yeah,
Um, so we always there's all these buzz terms in the personal development space and then all this stuff about, you know, being present and, you know, showing up and, you know, we hear all of them, you know, vulnerability and these are great. We understand them, but they're a lot of them overused. But I always talk about presence as far as like engagement. Like it's like I can be here with you right now, but my mind could be 2 weeks from here.
right.
Uh, so whenever I engage my daughters, I am there. Like
Yeah,
they know that nothing else is more important than them at that moment.
that's
And that
amazing.
and when I feel that from anybody, it doesn't matter if I'm related to them, you know that, right? Like if you're in a relationship and you got my attention, then I feel worthy. I feel like I'm validated, right? And you know, uh, and then the last point you talked about analyzing and stuff. I think I do that. I'm realizing that too. That I don't hesitate. I'm not passive, but I pick my battles.
Mm,
Not every hill is worth dying on. So there's times I'm like, I know what this is gonna go. Is it really worth my energy?
right.
It's not ego driven. Sometimes it is, but sometimes you know I'm competitive. But you know and now you and I are close to the same age. If I think the same age, but I'm like double nickel right now. So my attention span and my energy levels are less. The battery runs out sooner in the day. So I'm like, do I want to put that energy into that today? No, I don't think so. I'm like, whatever, whatever. So easy like Sunday morning. I always say, and I'm always quoting like the song from Lionel Richie. Yeah, that's okay.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm still passionate about the things that I care about, and that energy goes up in those things. But I'm not going to, if I gave that energy into everything, good or bad, and everything was adversarial, everything was like a battle, and that's exhausting.
Yeah.
A little people get used to that, and then like, you know,
I
so
think there's wisdom in that. And I'm just thinking that silly old phrase, like with age comes wisdom. It's like, I do think there's something about, when your kids are young, you kind of have to have a lot of energy. And it does get parceled out a little too much too fast sometimes. And then, like I'm one above double nickels. And yeah, I have to be a little more mindful, or I've just chosen to be, I guess. I mean, I could still probably do it. It's just not as sustainable for as long anymore. But it's just like, why would I expend all of my energy? I think for me, and I don't know where you landed when your kids were little, but for me, a lot of my energy was like just given up for things like fear, protection, control,
mm,
because I didn't have like I don't know, there's a lot of pressure. Like, this is on me to make this little human sustainable in the world and a
yeah,
functional member of society and safe and all those things. And I took that seriously, maybe a little too seriously.
I understand. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think all of that. I mean, for me, in my role or my life, I mean, I was married for 28 years and together for 33, and I'm 55, so most of my life.
Yeah.
So, and I look back at my marriage and I don't go, oh, that was a horrible marriage. I mean, yes, we had our ups and downs. We ended up not staying together. So, yeah, obviously there were things that didn't work, but I don't look at it as this horrible thing. So, we parented our kids the best we could, and we were very aligned a lot of times, different personalities, different approaches. But I was okay, like with giving her the role she wanted, and I had my space. I didn't have to fight for that. I was okay with that. I provide my presence, offering strength, offering stability, being close. That I was okay with that. If in especially with three daughters, they were especially when they got into their teens and all that kind of stuff started happening. I can't relate to that. I'm like, yeah, talk to your mother.
Yeah.
She can help you. She can. My stuff would be hypothetical and theoretical. She's speaking from authority. She's experienced what you're experiencing right now.
Yeah.
She comes back to me crying, or I'll give her the hug. I'll give her loves, and provide and protect and support. But there's just I knew my role and I knew my space, and I was okay with it. But I think the balance of when you have a very balanced, in some capacity, mother and daughter in the house, that's ideal. Obviously, most of us don't get that. But going full circle, we can use that as an excuse or as a reason to kind of make it work and break the cycle. Instead of a lot of people like being a victim and they get addicted to their plight. And I'm not trying to be critical from a perspective of somebody still in that.
Right.
I'm trying to be careful with how I say this because I'm not like you said healing. Like healing is a choice.
Hmm.
Some people get stuck and kind of like that loop they're in and the attention they get when they haven't healed yet. I'm not
Yeah.
saying
Well, I think there's comfort in that because it's what you know. And I think the fear of the unknown often will just take over when you start to think about even doing any healing. That's going to change everything. I just think that's
no,
human nature.
no, you're right. You're right. You're right. And for me, I was like, I get to create this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have that power. I have that choice. I don't know what it's going to look like. And yes, it does take courage. Yes, it does. I'm not saying it was easy. Forgiveness is one of the hardest things to do. Like I wrote I was co-author in a book, and we know the person who puts these together. And it was about that story with my father, and I called it, breaking the chains of unforgiveness.
Mm.
What I called the chapter, and it was that story because when I held on to that anger, that wasn't affecting him; it was affecting me.
Hmm.
So when we understand that and we realize, okay, wait a second, I wasn't forgiving him for him. I was forgiving him for me to be able
Hmm.
to now be fully there. Then that allowed me to open things up, and I was seeing clearly in things and filtering life differently because I let that go.
Yeah, I
Didn't
feel like we're gonna have to record a whole nother podcast on forgiveness.
okay,
You're
yes,
speaking my language. It's a deep one.
yeah.
It's like I'm writing a book and I have a full chapter on forgiveness. I mean, it's a lot of moving parts within it, but like my phrase for forgiveness is come to peace with the pieces.
Hmm.
Because you feel so fragmented when you haven't done the forgiveness piece of it. That part is it can just feel so fragmented. And
It
then
does. It
when
does.
you come to peace with all of that, it just like zips everything up in some weird way. And you're right, it's for you. It's not even about them. But I don't know, it's a whole thing. We could go off on a whole tangent, but we'll save it for another
No, no, no,
podcast.
and I love to do that because one of the biggest for me barometers or measuring items to whether I forgive or not is when I think of that or I encounter that person or whatever. Does it
Yeah.
and
Does
you
it take
see
your breath away in a bad way?
yeah,
Yeah.
but you can see I'm talking to my father. I'm not. There's no trigger. I'm fine
Yeah.
because that's I'm not gonna maybe in that other conversation I will, but there was a betrayal in a relationship in my life and for a long time, I was like, I don't want to forgive.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. And we will.
Uh-huh.
We're doing a prelude to our forgiveness episode. But like for me,
Yes,
forgiveness is one of those words where I'm like, that is a choice, but it's also one that you have to be really mindful of your internal landscape. And sometimes it's just not time yet. There's more stuff
no,
that has to happen first. And I really think it's important to honor that. And I think some
good
people
point.
just put so much pressure on the importance of forgiveness that they bypass a bunch of stuff that is so important that for you to even get to forgiveness is impossible. And
I love
so,
that. I can't wait to have that conversation with you because I can tell you from two events in my life that process and that I went through. But yes, 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 I love
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay. So I have this underlying question percolating about, well, it's about fatherhood or parenthood. We can use this a little more, but I'm curious about, and it's maybe not the clearest question. I'm curious about Do you feel like you're relate like so you as a son versus you as a dad? Is there a correlation there? Like, do you find
Hmm.
yourself like I don't know. I guess I don't know. Maybe I have. I've probably have because I think I've had these conversations with my boys, but I think there's a part of me that's like, I witness my own relationship with my parents and how I show up within that and how they show up within that. And then I sort of chew on that and come to a place. And
Hmm.
then that helps me navigate how I want to show up as a parent and how I want my relationship. Not even I want, but just like what opportunities I want to be available or what possibilities to be available with like for my sons and me. It's like you're a dad to girls and I'm a mom to sons. I think that's cute.
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. I have somebody that I'm very close to. Um, she's a friend of mine. She lives here, and she was a client first, but we're good friends. She said this to me a few months ago, and she did it in love, and I received it the right way. Like, you're an incredible dad, but you suck as a son.
Mm. Whoa.
And I had that reaction, and I said, let's elaborate, and we talk. And she's like, I wanted to get your attention. You don't suck. However, because she knows there's just, and now I don't know, I was doing it, but even more purposeful in how I engage my mom. I see her often. We engage regularly. I have dates, like we go baseball games. She's 79. She's still moving. She's still doing things. She just came back from Greece. She was there 2 weeks with three friends. So, but she's not getting any younger. So I understand. I now, because we have a healthy relationship, I'm very purposeful about staying connected with her. And I see sometimes, especially in communications, I got to get better about texting. People that know me understand. Sometimes I get into these modes and tunnels, and then I just disappear, and then I come back.
The
It's like,
world falls off.
oh yeah, it's like, oh, I'm so sorry, and then I'm like, you're in good company. My mom's mad about that you do. Like, Javi, you never reach out to me for only when I reach out to you. Okay, okay, but my point with that is that when I went into that place to navigating what how can I be a better son? And there's times when my oldest, I know she's married and she has two businesses, she's busy and stuff. And I send her a message and she replies like a day later. And then in my head recently, I'm like, yeah, that's what you do to your mother. You have no right in being mad at her because she's like your mom's waiting for your answer from the day ago. You could have answered. I could have sometimes, but I don't. And it's not because I don't know. I'm not trying to make excuses. I need to
Yeah,
give.
yeah.
So I don't suck as a son, but you know, I now look at, I do pay attention to that. Oh, okay, I can see why I get it. So, but I think full circle, your whole show and setting tensions and all that stuff. I mean, I think that's a big lesson here. I think we can't be passive about parenting. We can't be
Mhm.
passive about building our businesses. We can't be passive about relationships. The relationships that matter cannot be passive. And the ones that matter the most, which are our children and our spouses, if you're somebody still married, our significant others, that's a daily purposeful thing. I take responsibility for becoming passive, contributing to the demise of my marriage because whatever reason doesn't that's irrelevant. I did not I became passive and
Mm.
complacent rather than deliberate about it and intentional.
Yeah,
And that slow drip eventually becomes a big thing in anything.
yeah,
And so if there's a lesson there for me, I'm telling myself this to remind myself, but anybody in any relationship, you can't withdraw unless you deposit.
yeah,
So deposit, and there'll be time for the withdrawal. And there's time for those things. And in relationships, no matter how long you've been with somebody. Again, I was with this person for a long time. We had incredible times. We had three daughters, and it weathered away because we were not intentional about it.
yeah. I think the underlying thread of this entire podcast. This is how it's feeling right now. Is from a parenting perspective, from a being a child, to your parents' perspective, from any relationship perspective, and also with yourself. I think the underlying win, I'm going to say win, even though I really don't love that in this context, but the answer maybe it's just love. When you're
Yeah.
intentional about is this coming from love or something else? I just think it changes everything. And I don't know why that question came in about like, your like your relationship as a son versus your relationship as a dad, or my relationship as a daughter versus my relationship as a mom. I don't know exactly what's there. I think I'm going to be chewing on that for a little while, but I feel like
Mhm.
I want to be intentional about like noticing that a little bit. Like, have I ever put myself, I don't know, like as a child and a parent, both are true for me. Have I ever thought about like how I treat my parents or how I've treated my parents over the years, how that would feel to me if I was the parent of how you know what I mean? Like I don't know, there's something there for me to sort of witness, I think. And I don't know why I'm saying it, but I feel like
No,
it's something to think about and something to chew on, and maybe it helps somebody.
wow, that's really deep. And it gets me thinking about, I'm not trying to call my sister out. She's a wonderful daughter and a wonderful sister and all that. At the same time, there's times when she lives close by, so she has a different relationship. I live 2.5 hours from my mom,
Hmm.
and she says this all the time. And I'm not saying she's wrong. She says I'm the favorite. Hey, you know something? I didn't create that. That was, but a mother-daughter relationship is different than a mother-son
Yeah, yeah,
relationship,
yeah, yeah.
regardless of what we've done.
Maybe not favorite, just different.
Yeah, totally
I mean,
different.
clearly, yeah.
Mhm. So, and I've said this before, like this isn't something she did on purpose, but early on, one of the things I'm over and past and forgave is the sense of, I don't want to say mother wound, but I remember early on, Javi, you're now the man of the house. And like, how does a 12-year-old process that?
Yeah, yeah, right.
I mean, and that's a lot of weight. Now I have my
That's
sister in my house and my mom, no dad, like in another country. What
that's big shoes to fill. That's big shoes to
Mhm.
fill.
That
That's so
created.
interesting. I just had like a flashback to when my mom died, and I would go visit my dad, and I felt like he wanted me to fill her shoes. And I was like, I will never be her. I wish I could be her. I loved her
Mm,
dearly. She was an amazing human, but also I am my own human, and I can't possibly fill those shoes. I don't even want to try. You know what I mean? Like she
yeah,
was her, and I can't replace that. So we got to come to a different agreement here, a different
right.
expectation.
Before we
But
go
that was
into
an
this, we gotta still,
interesting,
yeah.
like I didn't know why it felt so heavy to me, but it felt so heavy to me because I was interpreting things as like you're going to fill those shoes. He wasn't necessarily saying that or even doing it, but like that was maybe it was my own expectation of myself. Like, we miss her fiercely, and how can I fill that void for me and for him maybe? I don't know, but like when you said that about like you're 12 years old and your mom was like you're the man of the house now, that heaviness, I instantly had a flashback to
You,
like
you
that
you
first
felt
time
that,
I
right?
stepped into the
Mhm.
cabin after my mom passed. And it was like, oh, fuck, I
Yeah.
can't, I can't, this is no, just no. Like, yeah.
Mhm. You said that my middle daughter who lives with me, when she when we first kind of separated, her mom left, and and she's not too far, but I she's a my daughter Bella, she's a nurturer. She's like a peacemaker. That's kind of her
Mhm.
gifting in a sense, like by default. Very big heart. Um, Empath. Like when you talk to her, you would be like she feels every energy in the room. And I noticed that early because she's very different than her other sisters. And like her older sister and her younger sister are scared of her. Like they love her, but they're scared. Like she's alpha, man. She's kind of like Wednesday from the Addams Family. There's like a shell there, but soft inside. But there's like,
Mhm.
um, and so my point with that is that I told she was cleaning and taking care of me, and I remember telling her early on, this is not your burden. Like I love that you wanting to help and please do and all that, but you're I'm not you take the weight of trying to replace your mom.
Yeah.
We'll work together. The house needs to stay clean. So we work together and stuff. But I wanted to take. I could sense that she was going to try to fill that slot that she has no
Hmm.
business trying to. It's not fair to her. It's not fair to me. It's not healthy. And I took that away, so she wouldn't feel that obligation from her own mind and her good intentions.
Yeah.
And so we have a good dynamic. We communicate, and she has her space. She has her own bathroom and her own wing of the house and stuff. And I see her, and we talk and all that. But I feel that that was knowing that. I think looking back, I wanted to make sure that she didn't feel that in
Yeah.
that weight that you took and I took, or felt that weight.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I feel like this is a good place to wind down and then like to be continued maybe with a little different conversation about
okay.
forgiveness and healing and that kind of stuff. But I feel like to wrap it up, and maybe we didn't talk about this, maybe we did, but I wonder two things. I wonder if there's someone out there who wants to support a father
Mm,
is because I think I don't know. I won't even go into that. I just if there's someone out there who wants to support a father from your perspective, is there like a simple, I
mm.
mean, you hinted at it earlier, or at one thing that would be possible, but I'm just curious if you have like a tidbit of wisdom for like, because I think we have stereotypical ways we think would be helpful, and then they're just not, it's just what we've always been told to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it simple. Because it depends on the person and how close
Yeah.
that person is to them. So I'll let if they want to give a gift or want to do support, because there's still the dynamic if mom's still around and all that stuff. I think just validation and encouragement, like just, hey, I saw some guy on Instagram or some of these videos where he has a brand about that for dads and he helps dads and stuff, and he goes to the malls and he has a really cool hat he gives them, but when he sees a dad with the strollers and the kids and stuff and doing the dad thing, he's like, hey, I'm going to give you this hat. Oh, that's kind of cool. What is it? Well, I just want to think, great job. I just want to encourage you as a dad, and like just words of encouragement goes
Yeah.
such a long way. And just, I see you, what you're doing, and you're doing a great job. That kind of
Yeah.
stuff lifts anybody's spirits. If I heard that from anybody, when I have the diaper bag and the stroller and I have
Yeah.
my things and the soccer and I got the cleats and I got the stuff, and that's not taking away from mom. I'm just saying we have our role. This is what we're doing. Somebody just acknowledging and encouraging and just saying, great, you're doing great. Keep it going. Just stay in it. That
Yeah.
goes away.
And then the second part two of that question is as a father, do you have a parenting words of wisdom as a we're focusing on dads. We're not like,
Yeah. Yeah.
poo-pooing moms. Like the focus is meant to be on dads in this episode. It's not about like this isn't about like duality or, dads are better than moms or moms are better than this is not about any of that. It's just about like I want to talk about like what it's like to be a dad. And so for you, do you have like it can be parenting, doesn't have to be specific to fatherhood, but it could be.
No, no, I like this. I did a video a few months ago. I heard somebody say this, or I heard a speech, or read I don't know where it was, but I did a video about it. And it was basically, I think it answers your question, or what I would do is I always say like I would die for my kids. And yes, I would die for it. But would you live for them? Like, would you
Mm,
take care, lose that weight, change your diet, go, make that decision? Like I'm here. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. They want me to be here. I want to be here for them. So taking care of me so that I'm available for them. I think a lot of us dads neglect us, give everybody our oxygen and suffocate in the process. And I've learned
mm,
that I'm no good for anybody if I lost heart and I'm just empty.
yeah.
So I've learned through this post divorce that one of the least selfish things as a human being, but as a dad, as a husband, or as a person, as a business owner, is to take care of me. How? Well, that however that is, emotionally, financially, physically, all of the above, spiritually, like work on that. And that I think that's the biggest gift we could give our kids. So I could give my kids to be there, and they notice. It's like, I love that you're taking care of yourself, Dad. Then we don't worry about you the way that we used to worry about you
Mm,
you know
yeah.
so that's being purposeful and being intentional about that. So those dads that are out there, I would say, look, you know take time for you, so then you have margin to take care of them.
I love that you said that. Because I think moms hear that a lot, right? The narrative
Mhm.
is don't forget to take care of yourself. You do so much. But what about the dudes? What about the dads?
Right.
They also do a lot. Weight of the world, maybe
They do.
different things depending on how you show up and what your dynamics are within your family. But yeah, dads need that too. We all need it.
Yeah, we
Um,
do.
I love that you brought up your business because I know this episode hasn't been about that, but I do want to make sure people know what you do and know how to find you. Can we do a quick little, just
Oh,
a zip on how do they contact you and like if they're interested in what you do or if you want to be contacted?
no, you sure. I mean, I'm in the marketing branding space. I've been doing this for over 30 years. I have my own agency. I'm very niche. Like I work with clients, established businesses, and help them kind of build their brand, more than startups and stuff like that. But I am in the marketing space. So the name of my business is called Vida Brand Lab, Vida VIDA, like it's Spanish for life. VidaBrandLab.com. You can always go in there and somebody can check out what I do. It'll say it more clearly in nice pictures and logos than I could
Beautiful.
say it in there. And then my last thing is my not my addiction, but my passion for coffee. People say you're addicted to coffee. It's like, maybe coffee's addicted to me, and that could be. But I'm launching later this year. I've been working on this for almost 2 years. The foundation, a coffee lifestyle brand, a coffee business, single source or coffee and direct to consumer online. So putting all my things together. So that's going to be called Vivir, Vivir, which means to live in Spanish. Vivir Coffee Company. So if you go to vivircoffee.com, there's a little sign up so you can get into the email list so you can get updates. But we're launching this year finally. So
Beautiful. Yay. Oh, I'm so excited for you. I'll make sure those go in the show notes too. I just like to say it verbally on the mic in case people don't read the notes, but also have it in the notes in case people don't want to take notes while they're listening. So
right, thank
awesome.
you.
Oh, thank you so much, Javier. It was great.
Thank you.